It's one of the hallmarks of genocide studies, and one of the first things that we teach our students actually is that people who commit genocide are not evil. And this stems from a misconception from decades ago when people started trying to understand genocide or look at why it could happen. There's this idea that if someone is committing this horrible act or this very evil act, they have to be an evil person or a horrible person. So at the outset of genocide studies, many people started looking at psychological traits, trying to see if people who commit genocide have things like antisocial personality disorder. You might have heard of Milgram's experiments or Zimbardo's experiments where they're trying to see why do people do bad things. And time again, they found that the people who commit bad acts, the people who commit genocide, actually aren't evil people. They actually don't typically have some kind of psychological abnormality. They're typically normal people who are acting in extreme social situations. So we were conducting a study where we were looking at how people testify on their own behalf. And we were particularly interested in how people who were accused of crimes of genocide, which are seen as the worst crimes in the world, how they talk about what they did and how they rationalize their actions. So we looked at 27 defendants' testimonies and read their testimonies very closely to look at how they make sense of what they did after the fact. And we were looking specifically for something called techniques of neutralization, and this is essentially how people rationalize or neutralize their actions. And basically, that line is referring to the fact that we found that the #1 most common technique was something we called appeals to good character. Rather than talking about the terrible things they did, time and time again, they tried to say that they were either a good person or that they had done good deeds. So in terms of being a good person, they would say, I actually have friends who are Tutsis, I really don't have this type of ethnic animus toward Tutsis, or they'd flat out say, I'm actually a good person. Or they would emphasize good deeds and they would say, I tried to save Tutsis during the genocide, I tried to stop the genocide, really trying to, rather than focus on what was tarnishing their reputation, trying to say, no, actually I'm a good person, and trying to sort of counteract the stigma that comes with being accused of genocide. One of the most common misconceptions about why genocide occurs is this idea of diversity breeding conflict. For a lot of years, people thought that genocide occurred because of diversity and thought that more diverse countries would have conflict and thus have genocide. This is not the case, so I and others have looked at whether diversity is actually associated with genocide, and it's not. So I did want to say first that because of this common misconception, it's not actually diversity. Rather, what we know instead is that it's typically much more present-day political arguments and political factors. So if I had to pinpoint a few reasons why genocide occurs, first I would say it's often leaders who are threatened, as I mentioned before, and these leaders often try multiple strategies to respond to these threats. These strategies fail, and then genocide is often like a strategy and a last attempt strategy. So as odd as it sounds to say it this way, genocide is often seen like a policy for these leaders.
But you don't have a choice. People act like you have a choice. People don't feel like going to the stadium when they might get infected. You know, it's not the government who's saying, okay, just ignore this disease. And, you know, people are deeply affected by seeing these deaths, by knowing they could be part of the transmission chain, and old people, their parents, their grandparents could be affected by this. And so you don't get to say ignore what's going on here. There will be the ability, particularly in rich countries, to open up if things are done well over the next few months. But for the world at large, normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population. And
how you doing today? I certainly hope you're doing well. I want to wish everybody who celebrates it a Merry Christmas. And I truly hope and wish and pray that next year will be 100 times better than this year has been, due to these idiots on TV who can't keep their lies straight. I mean, seriously, check this out.
COVID vaccines that I've had over the years, I felt a little bit achy, but nothing to be bothering or distracting me. Went to bed last night, had a good night's sleep. Woke up this morning, the only thing I have is...
As you can see, liars can't even keep their lies straight. You can see he's touching his right shoulder, saying his arm hurts because of the vaccine. And as you can see live on TV, he's getting the vaccine in his left arm. It's totally bullshit and nonsense what these people are doing. They're nothing but propagandists.
We hope you're doing well tonight. And now, if you don't mind, we're going to get to the news. The White House today announced plans to form a task force to combat online harassment. Go to their website to check out the announcement. But heads up, do not read the comments. Dr. Anthony Fauci tested positive yesterday for a breakthrough case of the coronavirus. Wow, Fauci is like COVID's final boss. This is like hearing that the coyote caught the roadrunner. Also, you caught it now? You made it through all that time in the maskless Trump White House. And you caught it now? That's like running a triathlon with no problems and then throwing your back out petting a dog.
What was our concern with the vaccine? It's not with any other medicines. For example, now we don't ask anyone to do anything on liabilities, but with the vaccine, that we knew that there is a very fanatic group of anti-vaxxers that will go after us no matter what. They will claim that the sun didn't go up because people were vaccinated, and that created issues with the crop, so I'm suing you. And one thing it is to sue you in the US, another thing is to sue you in a country where the legal system is not up to that standards, or in Switzerland, right? So I think that's behind us. Everything went okay, and now I think we can move on. Everything went okay, and now I think we can move on.
I think we were both targets of the anti-vaccine movements and conspiracy people claiming vaccine movements and conspiracy people claiming that I had triple, I wonder what it is, triple COVID. Yeah, and something. Well, I think it got hundreds of thousands of clicks and so on. I know you were also target.
I read one day that was arrested by FBI.
Yeah, same happened to me.
And there are pictures of me and FBI officers, I don't know how, I never said. The surprising thing it is that the same publication, I found out because I had published, the previous one that was arrested was the Pope by FBI. So,
ridiculous, yeah. So we are good company.
Well, at least I was in good company.
Yeah.
Hello, I am Rainer Fulmich, and I have been admitted to the bar in Germany and in California for 26 years. I have been practicing law primarily as a trial lawyer against fraudulent corporations such as Deutsche Bank, formerly one of the world's largest and most respected banks, today one of the most toxic criminal organizations in the world. VW, one of the world's largest and most respected car manufacturers, today notorious for its giant diesel fraud. And Kühne & Nagel, the world's largest shipping company, we're suing them in a multi-million-dollar bribery case. I'm also one of 4 members of the German Corona Investigative Committee. Since July 10th, 2020, this committee has been listening to a large number of international scientists and experts' testimony to find answers to questions about the corona crisis, which more and more people worldwide are asking. All the above-mentioned cases of corruption and fraud committed by the German corporations pale in comparison in view of the extent of the damage that the corona crisis has caused and continues to cause. This corona crisis, according to all we know today, must be renamed a corona scandal, and those responsible for it must be criminally prosecuted and sued for civil damages. On a political level, everything must be done to make sure that no one will ever again be in a position of such power as to be able to defraud humanity or to attempt to manipulate us with their corrupt agendas. And for this reason, I will now explain to you how and where an international network of lawyers will argue this biggest tort case ever, the corona fraud scandal, which has meanwhile unfolded into probably the greatest crime against humanity ever committed.
The reason why there's so much pressure on Europe and on Germany in particular is because, and we learned this from interviewing two former investment bankers, because Europe is completely broke, the European Central Bank is completely broke, and the European pension funds are completely empty. And if people find out about this, that that there's a high risk that there may be a problem with their pensions, then of course they will know who's responsible. It's the Davos clique. It's the Great Reset people. So they're keeping us under a lot of pressure so we won't find out. They're hoping that as many people as possible will get, quote unquote, vaccinated by the fall. And they're hoping that at that point, those people who got vaccinated probably will not be able to defend themselves anymore.
Independent. And then, as we do come up with vaccines, we want vaccines that are infection blocking and long duration, which today, the vaccines have saved millions of lives, but they don't have much in the way of duration, and they're not good at infection blocking.